Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Masters. The longer you work on yourself, and the more you work on raising yourself and situations around you, the more you will naturally start to see it just as energy. It's just energy. Like Einstein said, it's all energy. Matter is energy. Energy is matter. Mind is energy. All forces are energy. It's just energy. And you start to see patterns. So, for example, within yourself, that's a good place to see energy. People call them emotions. People call them thoughts. People call them the voice inside your head and complaining and this and that. It's just energy. You will someday come to see it's just energy. So if somebody says something to you that bothers you, you will notice that your mind talks about it. Like my favorite is, how many times has your mind talked to somebody that they're not there? You're just talking to them because you need to tell them what's on your mind. It does it all the time. It just says what it wants to say. It may never say it, right or wrong, but it says it. That is a release of energy. That is why that's happening. Something has upset your heart, has upset your energy flow, and it's blocked, and it needs to release. People release it outside through fighting or yelling or screaming. All they're doing is releasing energy that they couldn't handle inside. What your mind is doing is acting as a vehicle for releasing the energy inside. And so it talks or it yells or it complains. You're just releasing energy. That's all that's happening. Don't think of it as you. Don't think it was right. Don't think it was wrong. You shouldn't listen to it. Like if you sit there and talk inside your head for hours and days, what you're going to say to somebody, and you never say it, you wasted your time. You wasted your energy. But it can make you feel better. You can have the whole conversation inside your head, both sides. What you're going to say, what they're going to say, what you're going to say back. What are you doing? You're basically saying, I can't handle what's going on inside of me. I need to have a way to release the energy. Psychology says, go out and run and pick up a habit. You already got one. It's called that voice inside your head. And you use that to release energy. That is such a healthier way to look at it than saying it's right, it's wrong, you should shut it up, it shouldn't be going on, what's wrong with you? No, it's just energy. It's like weather is energy. When it comes down to it, weather's energy, wind is energy, rain is release of energy, clouds are anything, everything's energy. It's just energy in different forms. That's energy in a different form. So if you want to work with it, if somebody's yelling at you, haven't you noticed if you yell back, it doesn't do a single thing? You're both sitting there talking at the same time, yelling back to each other. It's kind of funny, isn't it? All right? You're both attempting to release the energy. What's happening, though, is your release of the energy is blocking their release of the energy because it can't flow. And their release of energy is blocking your release of the energy. So all it does is become more frustrated, more, and people just escalates up and people are yelling. Isn't that neat? This is so easy to see when you look at it as energy. So what can one do that is more productive than that, which is just waste of energy? Look at all the energy you waste, okay? And more productive than suppressing that, than saying, I shouldn't be doing this, that stop it, and fighting with it. I'm going to tell you a secret. You should never fight with your mind. You should never fight with your mind. Fighting with your mind is equivalent to saying to your mind, there's energy inside of me that needs to be released. It's trying to release itself through the verbal talk, through the voice inside your head, through all the conversations going on in there. I don't want you to release it that way. Well, get some ulcers. It's called suppression. There's obviously energy that needs to be released. So just take what it's doing and say, here, if a teapot is whistling, why? Because there's energy in there and needs to come out. Put your finger over the hole. Please don't, okay? The energy has to go somewheres. So when you're telling your mind to shut up, I don't want to listen to you. You shouldn't be talking. This is not good, right? You're basically saying to it, don't release energy that way. Okay. Are you telling it how to release the energy? No. You're just basically going, I don't like this, or I shouldn't be doing this, or you're participating in it to release energy that way, which becomes a habit. The more you release energy any given way, notice when you get nervous, sometimes you like to eat. Okay? Well, go on, do it. Take some chocolate, eat some candy. You will want to do it all the time. You've formed a habit. I'm telling you, this is yoga. It's about energy. Your life is yoga. So that is how you're expressing the energy. Therefore, every time you get upset, every time somebody disturbs you, you go for the candy, you go for eating, or many other different things to do that help you release the energy. It is more productive to consciously work with the energy than to just sit there and say, I can't handle it, and let it release. Get out of my way, let it release. Well, how does one work with the energy? If you learn to channel the energy through something constructive or productive, that's what the key is. It's not push it away. It's not get mad at it and not yell at it. It's not suppress it. That is not healthy. Okay? It's just going to come up some other way. I managed to shut up my mind. I meditated for 4 hours, didn't say a word. Then what? Then start talking again. Yes or no? Okay? You didn't do anything. Again, I don't talk against meditation. It's wonderful. You should meditate. Don't take it that way. But you have to work with, one, why did it upset you? And two, how can I productively channel the energy instead of letting it complain or do mind talk or yell or scream or do whatever it is? All right. Sometimes if somebody says something, you need to tell somebody what they said to get somebody else's agreement that you were right. I don't mean sometimes, all the time. Why do you think you're calling people? Why do you think you want to tell somebody? Why do you think you want to get agreement? Because you need a way to release the energy. And when you sit there and talk about it and tell somebody about it, you are releasing the energy. You're literally not releasing it. You're transferring it to them. That's my favorite little line, right? Something bothered me. Somebody did a terrible thing. Wait till you hear what they did. Blah, 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 blah. Can you believe that? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, thanks for listening. I feel much better. Then a person says, I don't. Of course not. We have a word for it. Dumping on them. What did you dump? You dumped the energy that you couldn't handle. Now, you see, the whole thing we're talking about is look at it as energy, not as mind, not as heart, not as problems. It's just energy that got disturbed and you don't know what to deal with it. So what yoga is about is having a way to constructively deal with the energy, to channel the energy. That's what it's called. Transmuting, channeling. How do you do that? Well, for example, let's say your mind is doing its complaining thing. And you're conscious enough to realize, what good does that do? There must be some energy that is expressing itself through all this complaining. Worry. What is worry? What is worry? Some thought or action or something happened that made you feel uncomfortable about what might happen tomorrow or next year or when you get old or when you die. You can worry about a lot of things, can't you? All right? Worry is the act of releasing that energy. It's attempting, if I worry about it, I'll take care of it. And what worry is doing? Worry means I'm not okay. I'm afraid. That's what worrying means. What do you worry about? That something I don't want is going to happen? Or something I do want is not going to happen? Did I get it? You worry about it. What does it do? It's like you're talking about the future and you're not psychic and you don't know what's going to happen. So most of your worry, now it's one thing to plan. There's a difference between worrying and planning. I'm not saying not to use your mind. If your job is to be an appointment scheduler at a doctor's office, you have to lay out the schedule. You have to plan. You do a regular thing. That's not worrying. That's like, oh my God, what if Sally doesn't show up and somebody calls and says they want to change the appointment? What will I do? Right? What are you wasting your time? Nobody called. Yes, you should have procedures down. That's not worrying. That's planning. But just to purely worry, it's about fear. There's a difference. You don't plan out of fear. You plan out of intellect. You plan out of wisdom. You plan out of structure. Fear is to sit there and say, I got all that, but what if it doesn't go right? Yes, that's right. What if it doesn't go right? Okay. And something can always not go right. Something can always be different. So you spend all of your mental energy worrying about something that probably never happens. Most of the things you worry about in your entire life never happen. So you're wasting your life. So when you see it as energy and you understand what is worrying, don't sit there and say, somebody better worry, it's not going to work. No, somebody better plan and somebody better work on following the structure and working with people as it unfolds, right? You can't deal with something that's not happening other than planning. I'm making a distinction. I did business, right? I'm making a distinction between your job. It is your job to plan. It is not your job to worry. Because worry wastes energy and makes terrible decisions. Worry says, all right, I want to get married. I want to get married. I love her so much. I love him so much. But what if he leaves me? What if after 5 years I become so attached to him or her, and then they leave because Sally's husband or wife left, and what am I going to do? All right, I'm really concerned about this. Okay, I'm not going to get married. Holy mackerel! How dare you do that? How dare you do that to yourself? How dare you do that to somebody else? It's like you got to be willing to live your life. If you worry, don't drive a car. Some people are afraid to fly in a plane. I don't have the statistic. I'm going to tip my tongue. Go look up how many more people die in a car accident than plane accidents. Not even close, even percentage-wise. All right? The people got in a car and people got in a plane. It's amazing. Like, I grew up north. And when we moved down to Miami, when I was going to high school, they swam in the ocean. And there are sharks in the oceans. I heard about them. It seems crazy to go into an ocean where there's sharks. People do it all the time, don't they? All the time people swim in the ocean. But if you want to, you can make it so you don't. You can make you don't get married. What if you have children? I don't want to get pregnant or anything. What if the child's not perfect? You just worry yourself out of your life. So worrying is not the same as planning. If you're going to have a child, plan the crib, plan the finance. There's nothing wrong with that. You're supposed to do that, all right? You're an intelligent person. You use your mind to lay out a basic plan. But you don't worry with fear. Fear is not a good motivator. That's what it boils down to. That's what I'm talking to you about. And fear is what motivates so much. There's two things that motivates us: fear and need. You want something and you're afraid of something. Just you wait and look. Just take a look at your life. There are things you wanted, you felt you needed, and so you tried to motivate you again. The things you were afraid of, you're trying to make sure they didn't happen. Now, when I sit there and say need, you look at me like I'm weird. I've taught you before. There are no psychological needs. Now, physiological, yes, food, clothing, shelter. I've talked about that the other day. There are no psychological needs. There are no psychological needs. You're whole and complete within yourself. You're filled with love. You're filled with inspiration. You're filled with creativity. You are the most beautiful thing ever walked the face of the earth. Because you block that energy, you feel needs. You have to compensate for the blockages you created. And so eventually you wake up and you realize that's what I've done with my life. I'm afraid I won't get what I want. I'm afraid I'm going to get what I don't want. And so you devote your life to avoiding life. You're basically avoiding life. So what is your choice? This is how it is, how you are, how human beings are. They got themselves in that position. You learn to channel the energy instead of letting it be habit formed and just let the mind talk. That doesn't mean you stop it. I found, and even now, I've been doing this for 52 years, I still learn when I sit down and work with myself that I used to try to stop the mind. Oh, I did the Zen. I started with Zen. Stop the mind. I shouldn't talk, all right? Yeah, I could meditate really deep for hours, but when I came back, holy mackerel, it didn't last very long, okay? Go on a retreat. Fine, it's wonderful. Yes, you should reach those states. You should know about that. You should know who you are. I want to know when that mind comes back. It talks exactly the same as it did before you did all that. It's not going to last because you didn't get rid of why it's happening. What is the root of why the mind talks so much? And so I have seen, and I'm not telling you to do it, I've been doing this a long time, that if I'm meditating and the mind says something, if I don't get involved in what it's saying, I can go deeper than if I try to stop it from saying what it's saying. If I bother to come down from conscious state to stop the mind from blabbing, not complaining, just talking, doing its thing, right? It lowers me more than if I just let it do what it wants to do and leave. So the key is you have to learn to work with the energies. Instead of judging them, instead of deciding what's supposed to happen inside, you sit there and look at why is it happening, not what's supposed to happen. You work at the root. And what you're going to see that the root is fear and desire, fear and desire. Somebody says something to you, you're afraid they don't like you. They're afraid to tell somebody else what they thought of you, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You're afraid that if they say something to somebody, then they won't be nice to you. You're afraid. Or you want something. And so the mind talks because it's trying to figure out how to get it, how to manipulate, how to convince people how to do something. And it just will talk forever because what it's talking about is a future that it doesn't know. You understand that? My favorite one, and I hope you see it, is it talks about the past. That's my favorite. It sits there and says, that shouldn't have happened. How could she have said that to me? Guess what? She did, and you're not going to change it. So you're wasting your life with that talk. You're wasting your mental power. You're wasting your energy. And now go in there and talk about what if she didn't say it? Oh my God, what a waste of mental power. You're a brilliant person. You're the highest species on the planet. And you're going to waste your mind, your mental power, talking about something that happened before that can't not happen. Why do you do that? Because you couldn't process the energy. You couldn't handle what happened 20 years ago, 5 minutes ago, whatever it was. And you need some way to, the energy's still down there. You pushed it down there. You suppressed it. You repressed it. It's trying to release with all the thinking. A lot of your thoughts are your blockages attempting to release the energy that you blocked. And so therefore it needs to release. So the teapot whistles and your mind does that. Okay? I'm telling you, that's exactly what causes that stuff. So if you understand that, what good is it to push it away? What good is it to, say, no, I don't want this going on? Or what good is it to participate in it? All right, I'll tell you what. Yes, my mother did that stuff 20 years ago, and I couldn't handle it, and she was wrong. She was really wrong. I'm going to think about what I should have done instead of letting her do that. Well, what are you trying to do? It's called rationalization. You're trying to channel the energy with thoughts so that they are more comfortable inside of you. So everything your mind is doing and everything everybody's mind is doing, other than pure intellectual thought, creative intellectual thought, be an engineer, figure things out, be a researcher, think about, your mind is a brilliant computer. Okay? If you use it properly, look at what it does. Look what it built. Look at what air conditioning and rocket ships, all kinds of things. Or, hey, AI, give me a break, right? AI is so smart. No, it's not. Why? Because the mind built it. So yes, it has a lot of data. It can get it very quickly, but the mind programmed that thing. So if you think it's brilliant, how brilliant are you? So the question is, what are you doing with your mind? No, that's not the question. The question is, what is your mind doing with you? Because it's happening. Some people say my mind has a mind of its own. It does not. It is expressing energy that you stored inside, and it's coming up like that. And you see it happening. That's what I'm trying to get through you on this talk. It's just energy. Do you see it now? It's just energy releasing, but it releases in a way that it's trying to get you to act. That's a release of energy also. I'm going to give her a piece of my mind. Yeah, that's cute. I like it. What a wonderful thing. Where'd you learn that? A piece of my mind. I'm going to take this thing that's wrapping in there, causing all this trouble, and it's wrapped up for you. It's coming out for you next time I see you. And you've done it tons of times. Isn't that neat? Okay. Why? Because I can't handle the energy. Therefore, it needs to find a way to release. Eating, talking, yelling, screaming, whatever. They're all just an attempt to release the energy that is not at peace inside. So what's the answer? Learn to channel the energy. If you're smart, and you are, and the fact that you're even here means you're interested, you learn how to work with your energy instead of having your energy work you. You're a great being, and you have the ability to work with those energies. So how does one work with the energies? First, I teach this to you all the time, I'm sorry. Stop suppressing things. When you resist, Freud called it suppression, repression, or denial. It's a very psychological talk. I don't need that. How about resistance? Something happened outside, and when it came into me, it was not comfortable. Somebody said something, somebody didn't say something, somebody did something, somebody didn't do something. All kinds of things come in all day that are not comfortable. Fair enough? What do you do with them? You push them away. You don't want to experience them. I don't care how many times they teach you this. Someday you'll really listen, and I can tell. Your eyes go boom. All right? You're not comfortable. You don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want you to have said that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to do something that you didn't do. So it came in. It didn't match what was going on in there. And so what I do is I don't want to feel it. I don't want to experience it. So I push it away. I have will. I push it away. And when you push it away, that is suppressed energy. That is equivalent to taking wind, and instead of letting it blow past you, hold up a 4x8 sheet of plywood. See how all your arms do. See what your life is like. You spend the rest of your life resisting that wind instead of letting it blow by. That's what you're doing when you resist the energy that came into you, the energy of the event. Events have energy. What do you mean? That's mystical yogic talk. It is not. The event does not come inside of you. The event stays out there. It's energy. It's energy of the experience comes inside of you, and you can't deal with it. Do you see that? Did the actual dog go inside that you were afraid of? No, the dog stayed outside barking. It didn't come inside of you, but someone came inside of you, the energy of the event. And so it comes in, and you can't handle the energy, so you push it away. I'm teaching you and saying to you and begging you to learn. That's why your mind gets screwed up. That's why your heart gets screwed up. That's why your life gets screwed up. And guess who else told you that? Freud. He just didn't do it from a yogic point of view. Freud studied institutionalized patients. Those are the things that Freud uses as data, right, were institutionalized patients. And he saw that stuff got suppressed down there and it caused behavior to be like this. What he didn't discuss is who suppressed it. You can't just say, you did. Who did? It came in. Who pushed it away? Because you push it away, don't you? You push it away. You use your conscious will to not experience it. And that's why it gets stored inside. Now we went from psychology to yoga right there. Psychology studies the psyche. The psyche was built, what does it say? Man is the sum of his learned experiences. Events come in, you handle them, you don't handle them, you store some, you push some away. There, you built your psyche. And it's going to be like that. Those are your likes and dislikes, opinions, preferences, hopes, dreams, all that stuff is based on what came in that you stored in there. The stuff that you didn't store in there, the trees you drove by, the white lines you drove by, the people you don't know, they're not the sum of those learned experiences because you didn't do anything with them. You let them go through. But if you really liked it or you really didn't like it, you kept it. You didn't let it go through. And so that's what they mean. You molded your self-concept, everything out of those experiences. If you do that, you're holding this stuff inside of you. It is going to need to release. Energy cannot sit still. Energy moves. The energy comes in, you resist it with your will. Where's the energy going to go? It cycles around itself when it hits your will. Just like water trying to go past the dam. It circles around itself. That's called a samskara in yoga. That's what that is, a pattern of energy that you pushed away and are still pushing it away. Does it come back up? Sure. You push it back down. So you keep it down there in the subconscious, so to speak, and it's cycling, trying to release. It's always trying to release. For your entire life, it's trying to release. There are people who teach, I know, that at the moment of your death, your life passes in front of you. It's not going to be the people you didn't know. It's not going to be the white lines on the road. Oh, there's the white lines. I'm dying. No, it's going to be what mother said, what father said, what you couldn't handle, what you think you did wrong. It's going to be the things that you stored down there. Now that you're dying, you can't assert the will because the soul is being elevated, it's being brought up. The consciousness is ascending. And so you can't push it away. And so it comes up. Makes perfect sense. Neat? Okay. The key is stop pushing stuff down there. That's what we're all talking about. It's all energy. What do I do about it? You can transmute it. You can do this. You can do all kinds. I want to see you go through a day without pushing energy down there. People will say things. People will do things. The driver in front of you, the weather. There can be all kinds of things that happen in front of you that come in that aren't so comfortable. You judge them. They don't match your self-concept. They don't match what you wanted or not. What are you doing with them? You push them away. Don't. That's the beginning of the deep teaching of what it means to work on yourself. And believe it or not, if you were to do that, where do you see how much you grow? Just that. If you don't put more down there, then you didn't put more down there. And what happens, I teach this all the time, it's what we call a LIFO stack, last in, first out. You push the energy on top of the other energy, then that's what you'll think about today. What the person just said you didn't like. Mommy's still down there and daddy's still down there and the bicycle's still, stuff's still down there. But because you now have a thing that took priority, that's what you're going to be thinking about. That's the energy that needs to be released. If you don't push the stuff down there, what stuff? Any stuff. Start with the little stuff. It's hot out. The driver's driving too slow. He didn't use his blinker. I don't like what she said to me. What are you doing? You're pushing energy away. You're having experiences and refusing to have the experience. And so what you do with it is you push it away. Don't do that. Wait till you see how powerful a change in your life it will be if you just work with yourself with the tiny little things that there's no reason for you to be pushing that stuff down there. And you just learn to accept, to honor, to respect. We'll talk about how to do that in a minute. But do you understand that you are pushing stuff down there all day, all day. She's sitting in my seat. Oh my God, I dropped some ketchup on my pants. I don't want to go back to it. What are you doing? You're creating blocked energy. And the more you create blocked energy, the more you're layering it year after year after year, minute after minute after minute, on top of all the stuff that's down there. And therefore, it's going to come up in your dreams. It's going to, because somebody said something. It doesn't it? You know that you live in there. Well, let's start living in there in a constructive way. So, all right, how do you transmute the energy? How do you work with the energy? Nobody's saying it didn't come in. It does come in. Nobody's saying it didn't bother you. It does bother you. You're going to find out someday it bothers you because it hits the stuff you stored from before. You see a billboard, it reminds you of your ex-wife. It reminds you of the thing. It reminds you of where you used to live at home. And all of a sudden, all this stuff comes up. Why is it coming up? Because you stored it down there. That's not memory. Memory is something you get to use when you want to think of something, bring it back up. Not it pops up by itself. It starts haunting you. That's the right word, isn't it? Your past haunts you. Why? Because you stored it. Therefore, things remind you of it, and then they come up. So what can you do? I talk about it in Living Untethered. I go through a number of different, very broad topics of how you can make it so that every day you don't store as much as you used to store, and then eventually you won't store any. Wait till you see. Once you realize how beautiful it is to clean up in there and not have that stuff spontaneously haunting you and bothering you about your past, you're going to find out it's nicer in here. The world's a nicer place. Why? Because you're in a nicer place. It's nicer inside. And then you're going to say, you will reach a point, I want to know you. I want to see you when you get there. I ain't putting no more down there. I don't care if people hate me. I don't care. I mean, not, I don't care. I don't care. Right? I would rather let them hate me for whatever reason. I don't need to figure it out. I don't need to figure out how them not hate me. I'm Jewish. I got long hair, whatever the heck it is. I'm white or I'm black or I'm foreign or I'm American, whatever it is. Don't worry. They'll find reasons, won't they? Okay? What am I going to do about that? Nothing. What should I do about it? There's white lines in the road. There's people that hate me. There's people that love me. Free world. When you can be that way, then the stuff can pass through. You can still work with them. You can still learn how to be friendly with people. Or Christ said you should love people who hate you. That's a nice thing to do. You're going to find out if you love people who hate you, they don't bother you because you get to feel the love. They get to feel the hate. I wonder who won. You hear me? And you stop seeing your mission in life to make everything be the way you need it to be so you feel okay. And then you'll feel okay. Isn't that funny? When you feel, Shocky, who gave us the Durga statue back in the 70s, she used to say, problems are the nectar of life. Problems are the nectar of life. They help you grow. They stimulate you. They help you let go of your stuff. Imagine if you could be comfortable with knowing how anybody felt about you. Now you don't worry. Now there's no anxiety. Now there's no tension. Instead of spending your anxiety and your tension, your worry, trying to make them see you the way you want to be seen, why don't you work on yourself to honor and respect that different people look at people in different ways? Some people like it, some people don't. You can still love them. Only then can you love them. If you're trying to make them like you, you can't love them when they don't, right? Because this resistance is going on. But if you sit there and take the attitude, okay, people don't like me, or people do like me, all right? It's going to be, I'm going to get her to like me. She didn't like me. What are all you guys? I got a lot of work to do. There's 8.3, whatever it is, billion people on the planet Earth. And so you start working with yourself like this. You start thinking constructively about what's called being open. And when you're open, things pass through. If you don't block the wind, you say, okay, fine, let it blow past me. You don't have to block things. You can let them pass through you. And if they pass through you, you don't own them. You don't hold them. You know where your past should be? In the past. Do you know how much of your past, meaning the personal, emotional past, you should be thinking about all day? None. Why? It's over. Every moment you're sitting there worrying about, I like that one. I'm worrying about my past. What kind of thing is that? How do you worry about your past? It's over. And so you know what happened? You stored this junk inside of you, and it's bothering you, isn't it? And so you just change your whole attitude about things. So you start with the everyday events that are taking place in your life, and you sit there and say, I can handle it. I'm okay. And you can use positive affirmation. That person doesn't like me. I love it. I love it. What a wonderful opportunity to let go that I know that person looks at me with disdain and judgment, and I'm okay with that. So you work with it. Use positive energy, positive thinking, all right? And what will happen is when you let go of the daily stuff, again, remember what we're talking about. I know it sounds like the same talk, but we're talking about energy. It's all energy being stored in there. You don't want to store this negative energy inside. It will make your thoughts be negative. You know what your future looks like when you're negative? Negative, doesn't it? You know what your future looks like when you're positive? Positive. You know what your past looks like when you're negative? I can't believe she did it to my mother, did that to me also. Oh my God, I can't handle it. You are looking down at this thing. So the past is the biggest one for me, is that I do not understand the rationale of storing everything that ever bothered you from your past inside of you. It is not healthy. I told you what it's like. It's like going to a restaurant, eating some food that makes you sick, and asking the waiter to give you a doggy bag. Then take the doggy bag home and have a thing called the sick room, where you put all the things that ever made you sick. And every day you go in there and taste it. Check it out. Why? You don't want to eat that again. You want to remember how sick it made you. What kind of thing is that? That's what you're doing with your past. I'm telling you, you do not need to do that. It is not a healthy thing to do. Now, I know it's not easy to change because you've done it your whole life. You stored everything that bothered you inside of you. You can let it go. Don't you ever let them tell you don't. There's only one reason that it's still in there. You're holding it in there at one level or another. How do I know? Because when it comes back up, you push it back down, don't you? You tell people, I don't like to talk about that. I like to talk about what? Something that bothered me in the past. Why? Because I held it inside. It's still bothering me. What happens if something happened in the past that you fell down and you broke your arm, falling out of a tree when you were little, and it was fun. You went to the doctor, you got a cast, everybody signed the cast or that kind of thing. Now when somebody talks about a tree or falling or doctors, you're happy. But no, you saw it as negative and you stored it as negative, and now you don't like doctors, you don't like trees, you don't like falling. You did that. You need to understand, if you want to have a beautiful life, and you do, and I want you to, what does that mean? I told you. What if you're filled with love all the time for no reason? You just are because it's your nature. Or if you're filled with inspiration and creativity and think, oh my God, enthusiasm. I would like to be enthusiastic about every single thing you do every moment in your life. You can't wait to wash the dishes. It's my turn. You take the garbage out. Oh boy, I'm going to do it better this time than I did last time. And that's how you are about everything. You can't have a better life than that, can you? How do you do that? Stop storing garbage inside of you that's making you look at things negatively. And so you do that how? You do it by starting to stop storing stuff inside of you. And you just do the little things first. And I told you what's going to happen. If you do that, and you can do it, you can do better every single day. It has to be the purpose of your life. The purpose of your life is not to get what you need to compensate for the fact that you're screwed up. I don't feel love. I need to find somebody. I don't feel secure. I need money. I need better insurance. Well, what if you were secure? What if you thought life was fun? And whatever happens, you're going to have a good time with it. And that's how you looked at everything. Then you don't need anything. You're whole and complete. That means you don't do anything. You still go to work. You still do it, but you do it out of fun. You have enthusiasm. I told you, and oh, look at me. If you're there and you can be there, it's not easy, but you can be there. You go to work, and on Friday they give you a paycheck. I swear to God, you have no idea where they paid you. It's like paying you to take your wife out or something like that. It's like paying you to do something you love doing. If you love doing it, you don't need money. Why do you go to work? To get the job done. Why do you go to work? So I could play on the weekends. Well, guess who wins? The person that's enthusiastic about every single thing they do. Why are you not enthusiastic? Because you blocked yourself over the course of your life with all the stuff that you stored. And so now, unless something opens you a little bit, a person says something, the job looks interesting, people always say, find the job you have passion about. I don't know why anybody comes and listens to me, because I don't teach that. I don't teach find the job you're passionate about. I say find out how to be passionate about everything. Be passionate about everything, every single thing. I just told you, you can be passionate about the fact that people hate you. So you start by letting go during the day of the things that you would have pushed away. I told you what's going to happen next. And they write me from all over the world. Right? I did it. I was so happy. It was so wonderful. You changed my life. And then for some reason, I was driving my car and nothing was happening. I just felt all this pain and all this sadness came over me. I was just sort of crying and I have no idea. That's right. If you're not putting more down there, guess what happens to stuff that's down there? It comes up. Don't be afraid. You don't want it down there. You don't want it down there. That's your next major step, is to know I don't want to live the rest of my life with all that garbage inside of me. Why would you want to store everything ever? Question. If you store inside of you everything that ever bothered you, what's it going to be like in there? Bothered. You stored bothered. It's going to be bothered. So why are you afraid of getting rid of bothered? Because if it was stored with pain, it's coming back with pain. I don't know. I started thinking about when I was 5 and my sister got the bicycle I wanted. I haven't thought about it for totally. Good. Congratulations. Why do you want that junk in there? You're 55 years old. 50 years. You stored that thing down there and never thought about it. But I tell you, it affected your life. That's why you don't ride bikes. That's why you don't like the color blue. That's where all that stuff comes from. And so you get to the point where I want it not to be in there. I'm willing to work with the energy, not rationalize or compensate for it. I'm willing to work with the energies so that they are not needing to release all this negativity. Your mind will stop making noise. This is a very natural way to grow. You'll find that meditation is spontaneous. You'll be watching a ball game, you're watching something on TV, and all of a sudden, you're not watching it anymore. You're inside feeling all this joy. Just the very act that you were distracted from yourself, that some of your consciousness got pulled out into the TV, allowed the energy to come rushing up inside of you. You eat something, just eat a meal. You can't even see straight for an hour. You're on the verge of just this natural state of energy release. Why? Because you stop blocking yourself. And the more you start to experience that this is worth it, that's why I give these talks. It's worth it to not have that garbage inside of you. If you're living in a house and there's garbage all over the floor and bugs and you're trying to figure out, how can I be okay? I'll live on top of chairs, or I'll do this, or I'll do it. Well, just clean the house. You don't have to do anything. Really? What will happen? It will be clean and there will not be bugs and there will be garbage all over the place. That's the same inside of you. Is it worth it? Is it worth facing the bugs, facing the garbage, so you can let it out of there and have a clean place to live inside? That's what spiritual growth is. Call it meditation, call it gurus. No. They can help with it. Everything helps. But the net result is, are you willing to let go of that junk inside? Because when you're let go of that junk inside, it's not in there. And then there's not energy that needs to express itself through the mind negatively. And all of a sudden the heart is more open and you start feeling inspiration all the time. Now what? Now express it. Come out and don't express your need or your fear, right? Express your beauty. Express the natural thing that's inside of you. You can't do that until you're willing to deal with the energies. So we're talking about, in a sense, it's a type of transmutation of the energy. First, you have to recognize your mind is not bothering you. Your mind is expressing the energies that are bothering you. There's a big difference. So if you deal with your mind, you didn't solve the problem. The root of the problem is in the heart. The root of the problem is where you stored your garbage. And so work with the mind. Your whole relation with your mind changes so much along your path. At first, it's the enemy, your personal mind. It's the enemy. Oh my God, it's keeping you down. It worries. It makes me unhappy. Right? And you can't stand the thing once you get witness consciousness and look at it. It's scary. But the net result is you get to the point where you look at it and you realize the mind is not doing anything wrong. It's expressing the energies you stored inside. If you write an essay and you keep reading it, it's negative. You wrote it. You're reading it. There's nothing going on inside of you that you didn't put in there. But the outside didn't know. The outside happened. You didn't deal with it well. Somebody else could have heard the same thing and not bother them. And so you just get to the point where you start realizing your mind is not the problem. You have stored stuff inside of you using your will, and that is releasing itself. And so that's causing a problem. Don't bother. I mean, yes, you're going to work with your mind. I don't say, don't listen to me. Just hear something. Right? But I'm not going to tell you that if your mind's bothering you, you're not going to go call somebody or do something and feel a little bit better. For a while, you're going to do that. Eventually, you won't need to do it because you'll realize I'm the one who's storing it in there. And that what I need to do is stop storing it in there and then be willing to let go of what I stored in there. This is a process of years. And then you look at your mind and I told you, eventually you will look at your mind and apologize. I am so sorry I screwed you up. Yes, I had a relationship when I was in high school and she dumped me and I didn't handle it. And so now everything that's come up inside is scared to death to have a relationship again. You hear me? Always just think about it. Everybody reminds me of her. You're not doing it to me. I ruined my mind by storing that stuff inside. And so you apologize and you start working with your heart. And so what can you do? Let's say something's bothering you and the mind keeps talking about it. catch on, remember the talk, do mantra, do something, whatever matches for your lifestyle, for your way of looking at things. Do something that raises the energy instead of getting involved in it or pushing it away. You can raise the energy. So people say, give it to God. That's just raising the energy. Here's the mess inside of me, God. Here, you take it. It's yours. All right, offer it up. So you get to the point where you say, I'm ready. I'm ready, willing, but maybe not able. But I will do my best all the time to not put more in there. I'm begging you. Just wait till you see how much nicer your life is when you stop complaining about everything. I wish I never have the time, and I never will, to really get across to you how you look at this world. When I have those talks about quantum physics, which people ask me, well, why are you talking about quantum physics? Because scientists, great minds, your fellow humans, have spent thousands and thousands of years back to Aristotle and Plato and Newton and this and that, studying what's out there, where'd it come from? That's a very nice question. What is that out there? And they looked at it and they found out that it was made of molecules, and they found it was made of atoms. They found it was made of electron, neutron, and protons. Then they found out that protons and neutrons were made of quarks, quantum particles. That's all it is. It's particle level physics. That's what quantum physics is. Then they found out there are no particles. Now, listen to me. You don't have to understand quantum physics. Just understand they kept going lower and lower. They have that giant super collider in CERN, and they actually are hitting protons against protons and seeing what comes out. Quarks and leptons and bosons. And then eventually they got far enough down. I love it. I love it to pieces. They're far enough down. There are no particles. There's a field, a quantum field, and when it gets agitated, it makes a wave, just like dropping a leaf in a still lake. It starts to make a wave. Those wavelets behave in certain ways, have properties that make us look as though they're particles. They're not. An electron is not in a given place. There's a field of disturbance, and somewhere averaging in that field, the result acts like an electron. Okay? So there's nothing really there. All right? Now, why is that spiritual? Because you can train your mind. I did. You could train your mind and wait till you get far enough down to it to sit there and realize, what do you mean? That's nice theoretical. It's not theoretical. There's nothing here. That's what's going on. God did not create the heavens and earth. God is creating the heavens and earth. That little wavelet is being created every single second, every single nanosecond. Otherwise, it's not there. So that agitation in that field is going on right now. And that agitation is causing that wavelet, which when it interacts with other wavelets, acts like this. They can build it right now. They can build it from nothing, from just a wavelet in a field. There's a wavelet of a field, and they can build electron, neutron, and protons, and build atoms, and then build molecules, and then build every single thing you're looking at right now. That's going on right now. What if your mind told you this? What if every single thing you looked at, like the sunset with the trees, you realize that's where it's coming from, as well as the galaxies. Every single thing comes from nothing, comes from that. You're not going to have too many problems in your life. You'll be saying thank you. You wake up in the morning, why is your bed still there? Why is your body still there? Why is the dresser there? Because the form is coming from that field. And it just keeps making the same thing, right? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's God. That's the truth. If you train that mind that's busy doing stupid little things, what you think of me? All right? If you train your mind to dare to look at things the way they are, what science taught you, and realize out of nothing this comes. Wow. And you train your mind to look at it that way. So there are so many things you can do. I've given you some examples. You do mantras. You can do positive thinking. You can, it's called Jnana Yoga. You can use wisdom, that is science, wisdom, to free yourself. But the last thing you want to do is let these blocked energy inside determine how you're thinking, determine what's going on inside that great mind. So what do? You give it higher things, constantly higher things. I told you, I was quote this later from the Gita. The Gita says, one should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. For self that can be self's friend can become self's foe. It's talking about higher self. You who's listening to me and knows what I'm talking about is the truth because you're looking at your junk in there. The witness consciousness, the consciousness, can raise the lower self. One should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. It's not about hating it. It's not about pushing it away. It's about, let me help you. And the more I try to teach you every time, your ego is the way it is because you built it that way. You took things and put them together and made a mask and tried to sell it to everybody. You're in there participating, the doer. So you apologize to the mess you made in there, and then you start raising it up. Doesn't matter what you've ever done. You raise it up. And what will happen is you will find that the very energies that are now creating the garbage inside your mind and the disturbance inside your heart are Shakti. They are energy. And when you stop needing to use itself like that, because it's hitting your blockages, you will feel it as what we call the Shakti flow going up. It's natural. You'll just feel all these waves of upward flowing of energy inside of you. Every single one of you, you can just have Shakti experiences. Until it's not a Shakti experience, it's your life. That's where the masters live. Every moment of life, it's just pouring up inside, feeding you. Did anybody Christian teach this? Yes. Who? Christ. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. What does that mean? You don't just get high out of what's coming in from outside. That's the bread. There's this energy flowing inside that feeds you. Christians call it spirit. Okay? You are a great being. And it doesn't matter what you've ever done. If it is not stored inside of you, if there was a reason you hurt somebody and that's not there anymore, there's no karma. Because it's not there anymore, you're not going to attract it to yourself. But if you keep it inside of you, worrying about it, think you did terrible, how could you do that? And I feel so guilty. I feel terrible. Oh, you hear me? Then it's there. Does that mean you should do things and not care? No. It means if you do something and hurt somebody, feel remorse. Man, Robert talked about that. He talked about the difference between remorse and guilt. Guilt is of no meaning. All it does is hold you down, and there's all these junks come up inside of you from before. Remorse, true remorse, means I can't believe I did that. There's nothing inside of me that would ever do that again. And then you just feel that love, that releasing. Remember, I've talked about it a lot. You talk about remorse. But we don't understand remorse. We think it's the same as guilt. Oh, are you remorseful for what you did? Yes, I'm guilty. They're not the same. Guilt is a suppressed thing inside of you, your superego. It's in your mind and it's bothering you. Remorse is that beautiful bleeding and releasing of the heart that the samskara that caused you to do it is being burned. That's exactly what it is. It's being released. It's not going to be there anymore. Then you burned your seed of karma. They say that when you reach the state of enlightenment, all the masters teach this, when you reach the full state of enlightenment, every single karmic seed is burned in the fire of enlightenment. There's nothing. It's all went away. Because you're released, you're not bound by it. So you're a great being. It doesn't matter what you've ever done. The only reason guilt has an advantage is if you would do it again, and guilt makes you not do it again. Fine, have fun, because you won't. But if you learned from it, and you felt remorse, and you let go, there's no guilt. There's just appreciation for having the right to have learned. You actually thank God that you went through that experience. I thank God that I grew from that I got to go through that. All right, I'm a greater being because I went through that experience. Okay, so what we talked about, I know we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about energy. It's all energy needing to release itself. If you raise it by these different methodologies, like I said, I went to great detail in Living Untethered, and people do very well with that book. If you learn to raise the energy instead of having to release the energy or suppress the energy, then it helps you. How would you like it if your mind always said nice things? It's hot out. No, it's not hot out. I'm so close to a star that I feel its heat. That kind of changes things, doesn't it? That's how I think. Every single time I get in my car when it's hot out, my God, that's a star. You're close enough to it to feel its heat from 93 million miles away. You could be in awe. You could do that with everything. That's what it means to raise the self of self. That's a way to transmute or raise the energies up so that when they're releasing, they have a place to go that's constructive. Then you don't have blockages anymore. All right. I hope you understand this. It's every day of your life. It's every minute of your life. You can work with yourself to raise yourself and mold yourself into a beautiful being. And what you're going to find out, and I don't want to talk about it, I never talk about it, is if you're really doing that, you're going to find out it's almost as if the universe is helping you. That all of a sudden somebody gave you a book a week ago, and you read it and you found it fascinating, and then exactly what it was teaching you happened in your life. And if you hadn't read that book, you would never have been able to handle what was going on. You'll meet the right people at the right time in the right state. Not always, but you'll start to see this goes on a lot. It's almost as if something is helping you. Yeah, the meaning of your life is your evolution, and all of life is helping you. People sit there and say, how do I know who my guru is? When you're ready, they're there. You don't have to go anywhere. When the disciple's ready, the master appears. And the master does not have to be in the body. It's just you work on yourself the way we just talked about. All right? Well, what does the Bible say? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. What does that mean? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. It means raise yourself. Let go of your garbage. And what do you see what life does? Work on these things. Work on these things. Raise yourself. Raise yourself. Jai Gurudev.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.